Battletech. Is it worth a buy? Is it worth your money? Is it? Let's read the words of the developer. Take command of your own mercenary outfit of mechs and the mech warriors that pilot them, struggling to stay afloat as you find yourself drawn into a brutal interstellar civil war. So what is Battletech? Well, it's a mech warrior game, straight up. It's from the Mech Warrior tabletop universe. It kind of sticks to them rules quite well. There are a few changes, such as stuff like LRMs, for example. They do not get a roll for the whole cluster. Each individual LRM missile gets a roll of the dice to see whether it hits. And that brings me on to my next point, which is, yes, this is a turn-based game. Don't let that put you off unless you deplore turn-based games. This is a brilliant game. It's a PC exclusive. We've had two console exclusives. This is a PC exclusive, and I wish it wasn't, because I would love people on consoles to have access to this game, because it is bloody great. There's so much to tell you about this game, as is the depth of it. It is so freaking deep, guys. It's as deep as old Meg's. So we're going to get straight into what you get. You get a skirmish, a multiplayer, and a campaign. I haven't played multiplayer yet because this is a pre-released copy, so there's no one to play multiplayer with. Let's start with a campaign. It's story-driven. There's a civil war going on. It's not done with cutscenes. The story's all right, actually. It just doesn't look very good when you're watching it. There's slight roleplay elements in this as well. You get to select your name, your pronoun, and a few things about who your parents were and what happened to you and all that, but none of them have a huge impact on the story from what I've seen, so let's just forget that. Let's get to the combat, the mech building. How customizable is it? It is pretty much as customizable as you would like it. Loads of the mechs are represented in this game. Not all the variants are here, but a lot of the mechs are. You've got your favourites, you've got your cataphracts, you've got your Orions, you've got your Atlases, your Stalkers, your catapults and all of them, the Shadowhawks in as well. There's a lot of mechs in this, Hunchbacks. There's so many. I don't want to mention them all, but I'll show you them on the screen. You've got your lights, your assaults, your mediums and your heavies, and endless stores to buy all the shit that you'd want to decorate them with. You can decorate them as well with colours, but when I say decorating, I'm on about putting big ass guns on them. I'm just going to quickly mention how mechs work for people who aren't up to speed with it, and this will be very, very brief. If you don't understand Mech Warrior games, like what a PPC is, what an AC5 is, the difference between an AC5 and an AC20, then you need to learn, or you'll get your ass handed to you. You need to learn all of that. If you already know all of that, then you'll really take to this game like a duck to water, really, because it is just basically a Mech Warrior game. Tactics are everything in this game, absolutely everything. Your mech has 2 legs, 2 arms, a body and a head. The pilot's in the head, he's called the Mech Warrior. You level them up, you hone their skills into certain areas, giving them extra skills that they can use on the battlefield, which are so handy. Skills like multi-target, which will give you a scenario that I've never really been in yet. You've got a mech that's half dead. You've got 6 lasers that you want to fire. You just want to fire 2 at him and the rest of them at this new mech that's come over a hill. So you would select multi-target, select which weapons you're firing at him, and the rest will fire at the other guy. So stuff like that, that's really, really handy. There's also radar lock powers as well that you can get, sensor lock rather, which will allow you to keep an enemy mech highlighted for the whole duration of the turn, which will allow all your LRM mechs to open fire on them. So other really handy things like that. You can level up with your Mech Warrior pilots as they gain XP through battle. The main thing you get from battle though is salvage and money, because you do contracts for people. You select which contracts you do. You fly around the galaxy in your spaceship, which uses fuel, and you need to expand as well as you get more mechs and parts. So there's that to manage as well. You've got to pay the wages of your Mech Warriors. You've got to pay people to upgrade your mechs, maintain your mechs, repair your mechs. The monthly bills are huge, but there's plenty of contracts out there to get, which will give you more salvage that you get off the battlefield and more sea bills, which is the currency in this game. So you decide which contract you're going to. You go there and you've got to go to the mech bay and you kit out your mechs, put the weapons on that you want, the heat sinks, because every time you fire a weapon it generates heat, so you've got to look at how much heat it's going to generate, and you've got to decide how many heat sinks to put in to try and manage that on the battlefield. You've got to decide what your mech's role is going to be. Are you going to have a long range mech, a short range mech, a brawler, a scout? You have to
gear them up according to the tactics. And because you're running a lance of 4 mechs, you've got to make sure they complement each other on the battlefield. So there's a lot of tactics goes in before you even get into the mission. So you've got to make sure you set it up right. The game isn't that forgiving, to be honest with you. So luckily there's mechs already set up, stock mechs as they're called. They'll see you through the first few missions until you kind of get the idea of what you want on the battlefield. Then I would strongly suggest you start equipping them yourself and refitting them all out. On the battlefield, the way it works is when you start your turn, the light mech always goes first, then the medium mech, then the heavy, then the assault. And that works for the enemy as well. Now, one of the great things about this game is that you can reserve your move. So when it comes to, let's say, my light mech being the first one to move, I might just want to not move him. I want to, no, I'm going to just hold you back because there could be an ambush situation, just an ambush opportunity coming up. Depending on where the enemy is, they might be reasonably close but out of sensor range, so I would maybe reserve a few of my mechs because I'm in a good terrain. Elevated terrain gives you a bonus when you're firing at the enemy as well. Being in forest gives you a bonus. Sprinting fast gives you a bonus as well. All these bonuses kind of stack, so when you get enemies firing at you, their chance to hit will drop based on how many buffs you've got on you. So it's good to kind of get buffed up before a fight, and you can use that by reserving your move. And then the enemy may just come around the corner and you might have 3 or 4 mechs there, and then you can just have all your moves that you've reserved all stacked up and move all your mechs in the same turn and absolutely annihilate one of their mechs. So it's very important that you understand how the sequence of events works on the battlefield as far as turning. Then you've got to look at the whole who fires first. Do I want to kind of just use a lightly armed mech to get through his buffs and then save my heavily armed mech to really hammer him at close quarters in what's called an alpha strike, when you fire everything you've got? But again, this comes to building your mech again, because you might have a mix of long range, medium range and short range, which would mean an alpha strike's never really going to work that well because of the distance that you would be. So it's all tactics. It's all about planning out before you go, doing your work in your spaceship, in your mech bay, before you actually get out there onto the terrain. You've also got to be aware of which way your mech's facing on the battlefield as well. You've got to protect your rear because that's where the light armor is. You can also turn to protect a wounded part of your mech as well, so you're facing an enemy strike with a good side and not letting them get behind you as well. So there's a lot of things to be taken into consideration when you're actually moving around the battlefield. I mentioned about your Mech Warriors leveling up and using these abilities on the battlefield. They are crucial. You'll not get so many early on, but once you've played the game for 10 or so hours, you'll have a nice array of different abilities that you can use in battle, and you need to really use them. It's so satisfying when you execute a great ambush on a mech, focusing them down and taking them out before they've really had a chance to do much damage. If you can do that and then get your mission done and get back with hardly any scratches on your mechs, you will make a shit ton of money. And that's what this game's about, making money, because if you do a bad job on the battleground, you are screwed. I've had my whole lance devastated before, and I've been out of action for 6 weeks after that. And it's awful just flying around with no mechs. You've got to just wait till they're all repaired. It doesn't take long in IRL minutes, but you're losing money because every month you're paying the wage, the upkeeps and everything, and you're going to go bankrupt. So you have to really look after your mechs on the battlefield, and that's what I love about it. I love nurturing your mechs. I built that mech, that's my mech, I polished it, I loved it, I stroked it, and then when you see it getting raped on the battlefield, it's like, oh my goodness, no. You know, I've never felt such an attachment to my mechs in battle, and that sense of victory when you win is awesome. And just on the victory stance, you get objectives to complete. If you fail the mission but still manage to do a couple of the objectives, you will still get a goodwill payment. So it's all is not lost. It's better to do that and to maybe save your ass and retreat than it is to just plough crazily into a base where you're going to get hammered off turrets and an enemy lance if you're pretty much down on numbers. The skirmish, well, the skirmish is just awesome. You can just put anything up against anything, and it's all single player, or you can do it in multiplayer, like I said. I'm sure there'll be more mechs released over time. I hope there is, because I'm really enjoying this game. It's a terrific, deep, customizable mech game. I really do enjoy it. It's not cheap. It's $34.99. Green Man Gaming, by the way, are doing a special on. I'll just give you the code for that. In Green Man Gaming, you can get 22% off with GMG22 if you type that in when you go to buy it. If you click the link in the description, you will get there, sent there, and you'll be able to support my channel there as well. So it's actually cheaper than Steam. It's £27 on Green Man Gaming. It's definitely worth a buy if you're a Mech Warrior fan. If you're into strategy games, turn-based games, then it's a definite buy. If you're not, then I would stay clear because, you know, you're probably not going to enjoy it. So there you go, guys. I'll be streaming this for sure because I absolutely love it. Battletech, definitely worth a buy.
Locked on. That's a kill.